Hi guys. Alright, so watched a really good movie last night, a very good movie. I didn't think it was based on true events until I seen based on true events. So, has anybody ever seen the movie Anguish? I had no clue how good that movie was. So basically the whole thing is based on this girl named Tess, and she is a vessel. So she actually gets completely possessed, which I don't know how much truth there is to this, because I don't really believe in possession. But coming from that movie and the true story behind that movie, and then seeing all the other possession cases, I could basically take a page from The Exorcism of Emily Rose with Dr. Adani, that possession is not a typical human experience, but it is a culturally recognized experience that some people actually go through. So this girl is supposed to be mentally ill. Well, it turns out she's not. So she's not mentally ill. She hears all these whispers. She starts seeing all these shadows, all of these odd handprints. It's a really good movie. It's really chilling to know that how just the basis, the background of the movie. So basically her mom, Tessa's mom, is, a single parent. Her dad is in the army, and, they Skype every year, well, I don't know how long or how much they Skype, but, they see the whole thing with, the dad and the girl Skyping. So she actually, plays the guitar for her dad, and it's really sweet. So I can see the trauma, the underlying trauma there with the dad being gone. So the mental illness with that part, I completely understand that. I don't understand. So she let the spirits into her. She let one particular spirit into her, and it didn't want to leave. It wanted to stay, and it wanted to live out the rest of its life in this Tessa's girl's body, if that makes sense. So, but yes, she definitely does. She has these weird flashes, and she hears these weird noises. It's kind of true when you're doing trance mediumship. But I don't know about the possession thing. I just kind of think that she was more of a trance medium than actually possessed. I don't know, since I am a spiritualist and I do mediumship. I am a medium. I'm not 100% sure on that. The girl, literally, this girl named Lucy, she died in a car accident. So she got hit by a car, truck, whatever. So now this girl, Tess, that lives right across the street from the mom. So there's a Hindu woman that opens her home up like once a month in India for all these people to come, and she welcomes the spirits. So she will put her hair in front of her face. She'll start doing all kinds of, just rocking back and forth, and then she flips her hair back, and her eyes are literally changing color. She's speaking in the language. She speaks French. So whatever area of the world that your ancestor comes from, and if that ancestor comes through that medium, Tess, or the Indian or the Hindu woman, then that dialect and that language is spoken. So it's really, really interesting. But it's kind of like, okay, the Lucy girl that dies. Okay, so she gets into the body of this Tess girl, and now Tess realizes, okay, I'm not, she is almost like she's asleep. I don't know if when you get possessed, I don't know if it's like sleeping, or if you're fully aware of what is going on around you, but you just can't do anything. So she runs across the street and she starts banging on the door, and she tells her mom that she's home, and everything that she starts talking about, pictures on the wall, her grandparents, her relatives. She knows everything. The locket, everything. And she says one weird, odd thing to her mom that really made them both believe that she was a true medium and spiritualist. So the movie kind of ends just really oddly. Lucy leaves Tessa's body, and it's over with. So, but there's a lot of mental illness to be taken away from that movie. So they weren't sure, is it mental illness, is it possession? There's a father that comes in. She doesn't have a bad reaction to the priest. He's a Catholic priest, but she did when she was possessed by the little brother of the Catholic priest. It made her believe, or it made him believe. So I don't know who he tried to contact. I don't know, he was reading prayers from the Bible. She would recite them back. But it wasn't like she was angered, like in an exorcism. So I kind of think that's where that was going with the priest. But he just kind of floated out of the picture. Where'd he go and why? So I did a little more research, and this is actually really based on true stuff. So what I thought I did yesterday was not a PowerPoint presentation, it was just a bunch of notes. So again, we have here the notes, and it's really weird. So we do have, the story of Mary Roth, and so this is just really, really interesting. So, and then we have Lurency Venom. So, it's very interesting. So this is all the notes that I've taken. So this is what is basically what is going on, the true story behind Anguish. And it's really good. You can watch it on Shudder, you can watch it on Netflix, you can watch it on basically like any streaming platform, Hulu, any of it. So I mean, Prime Video, it's free. So I mean, it's probably on YouTube, so watch it. But actually look up the actual case behind it first. So it's really cool. Alright, so in the later part of the 19th century, during the heyday of spiritualism, that is kind of when spiritualism was at its peak. So the case of the spiritual possession of Lurency Venom attracted a great deal of publicity. Of course it's going to, you know. So Lurency was a young girl from Illinois, not far from me. So, who is claimed to be a reincarnation of another teenager called Mary Roth. So, and this Mary Roth, who had died at 15 years earlier, through the spirit of Mary, she claimed that she was able to recall in detail a past life with the Roth family and their friends, leading many to believe that she was indeed, spiritually at least, Mary Roth. So, that's the whole Tess thing. Tess was possessed by Lucy. So that's where she finally got Lucy to leave her body. So it was a real struggle, but her body contorted in ways, and it was like she was trying to throw up. So it was trying like it was leaving her. So it just, the contortion, I mean, that just freaks me out. The contortions. I don't like that. But it wasn't scary, it wasn't creepy, it was a really good, it makes you think, what if that happened? I don't know what the hell I would do. Okay, so I've never seen this movie, I have not seen any of this on YouTube at all, none of this, so, it's really cool. So, was Lurency Venom really the reincarnation of Mary Roth? It's really interesting. So, the story of Mary Roth. So, Mary Roth was born in Western County, Indiana. I forgot that was in my notes. Okay, so Mary Roth was born in Western County, Warren County, Indiana. Yeah, okay, so. Okay, on October 8th of 1846. So when she was 13 years old, the family moved to Watseka, about 70 miles south of Chicago. So Illinois, obviously. So by that time, Mary's health had been badly weakened by epileptic fits, which she suffered from about twice a day. And the fits, wow. The medication that she has to take in that movie, wow, not for me. It kind of makes me reconsider a bunch of things, but I'm not going to go into that, so. Alright, so today medical malpractice or negligence cases occur when a child with seizures is not properly diagnosed. So we all know that about Emily Rose, or Annalise Michael. Annalise Michael. So, but in the spring of 1865, in an attempt to escape from depression caused by her death, she tried to commit suicide by slashing her wrists. Her parents found her unconscious from loss of blood and called the doctor. So when Mary eventually regained consciousness, she became so violent that it took several adults to hold her down in her bed. Now this little girl, adult men, literally having to hold her down in her bed. How does she possess such superhuman strength? It's amazing. So she was delirious for roughly around 5 days, after which she suddenly became calm and slept for 15 hours. So she woke to find bandages covering her eyes to protect them from her unconscious scratching. She literally scratched her eyes. It made her go insane. So the trance channeling made her go insane, or thought she was. But instead of removing them, she discovered that she had seemed to be able to see as easily while blindfolded as she had before. So to take away one sense, another one comes. Your second sight. So that is her second sight. She obviously had second sight, which is very, very, very neat. So family friends, including her A.J. Smith, editor of Danville Time here in Indiana, and the Reverend J.H. Rea, witnessed Mary Roth heavily blindfolded and accurately reading to them the contents of a sealed letter in the editor's pocket, and arrange correctly a pile of old letters which she could not see. So the amazed editor wrote a blog detailed account of the incidents of his paper. That's really interesting. Her eyes literally would change colors. Literally, her facial expressions, her clothes. She went over to the house where Lucy had lived, or Mary Roth had lived, put on her clothes. She felt at home. So she saw herself as not the blonde, long-haired girl, but the dark, brunette, long hair. Very, very mind-boggling. Alright, so it's crazy neat. But slowly, however, the young girl's health had deteriorated. Before too long, doctors advised her parents to put her in a mental institution. So they did refuse, though, and decided to care for her themselves. So they took her with them when they visited friends in Peoria, Illinois. So for the 4th of July holiday in 1865, while there, Mary complained of a terrible headache and went to her room. A few minutes later, they found her unconscious on the floor in a pool of blood and rushed her to the asylum, where she died on the afternoon of July 5th. Alright, so now Lurancy Venom sees angels. She also saw angels. She's seen more than what the movie says. So, on the day of Mary Roth's death, so Lurancy Venom was a 15-month-old baby living on her parents' farm in Iowa. Not too far off. So she had been born to Mary Lunacy Venom on 16th April 1864 at Milford Township, Illinois. So in 1871, the family moved to a farm 7 miles south of Watsika. This was nearly 6 years after the death of Mary Roth, so there is no possibility that Lurancy Venom could have ever seen Mary. There's no way she could have heard about that. I guess there are ways that she could have heard about that, but geez. So, Lurancy was a normal, healthy child of 13 when when the 12th anniversary of Mary Roth's death occurred on July 5th of 1877. The next morning, she told her parents, quote, "There were people in my room last night and they kept calling, 'Rancy, Rancy,' and I could feel their breath on my face." Really strange. So, a week after this incident, Lurancy was helping her mother stitch a broken seam in a carpet when she suddenly straightened herself up and said, "Ma, I feel bad. I feel mighty queer." Meaning, odd. Just feeling off and odd. So, seconds later, she became rigid rigid and fell unconscious for 5 hours. So this began to happen every day and usually consisted of lunacy, lying stiff with only a faint pulse, her breath slow and weak, and her temperature below normal. So she suffered from excruciating abdominal pains and would murmur about strange visions, which usually involved what she called angels. Sometimes the attacks lasted up to 8 hours, during which the time lunacy would speak in different voices, though when she awoke, she couldn't remember a thing. So, and then a spiritualist does go in and investigate her. So, we have that. Doctors thought her mentally ill and could do nothing for her, only recommending that she be sent to the State Insane Asylum in Peoria. So at this time, the spiritualist movement was at its height of popularity, and news of the strange girl brought many curious visitors to see her. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Asa B. Roth, the parents of Mary Roth, and apparently spiritualists themselves, heard about the case and were reminded of their own daughter's similar problems. How many of you experienced something like this before, where you think you're going crazy? I've experienced it, but not to this extent. So, I've never. So they visited the Venoms and persuaded them to allow Dr. E. Winchester Stevens of Janesville, Wisconsin, a medical doctor and an advocate of spiritualism, to investigate the case. So this guy is a real doctor and a spiritualist, so he got to actually investigate that case, which I would love. I would love to do that. So it says Dr. Stevens visited the family and found lunacy sitting in a chair near the stove, with her elbows on her knees, her hands under her chin, and her feet curled up on the chair, eyes staring wildly. So for a while there was silence, broken only when Dr. Stevens moved his chair. At this, lunacy savagely warned him not to come any closer. She was surely and refused to be touched, calling her father Old Black Dick and her mother Old Granny. So it's a little bit more grotesque than the movie. So during these trances, lunacy was apparently taken over by a range of unpleasant spirits or entities, including an angry old woman called Katrina Hogan and a young man called Willie Canning. So after some unintelligible conversation, she had another fit, which Dr. Stevens relieved by hypnotizing her. She then calmed down and said that she had been controlled by evil spirits. So the movie says she says that she wasn't, being oppressed or possessed by evil spirits. It's very, very, very different. So Dr. Stevens, though, encouraged her to try and find better control. So after which she mentioned the names of several people who had died, eventually saying that there was one who wanted to come. Her name was Mary Roth. Mary's father was present. So, and agreed to let her come, which she apparently did, astounding the whole company with the details she gave of the Roth's house. It's incredible. I mean, it seriously is incredible. I can't fathom that. I mean, her fits in the movie are scary enough, but I mean, wow. The fits in real life? Quite scary. Quite scary. Alright, so, and then there's the spiritual possession. So I'm not too sure about spiritual possession. You guys all know that I don't believe that you can become possessed. I don't know now. This is making me think. So it was after this, though, in February of 1878, that the control of lunacy, or the spiritual possession, as some researchers have called it, began. So, far from being sullen and aggressive, the girl became mild, passive, and polite, not recognizing her own family, but instead asking to be taken home. On hearing the extraordinary change in the girl, Mrs. Roth and her daughter, Mrs. Minerva Alter, Mary's sister, went to visit Lunacy. So Lunacy was looking out the window of her house at the time, and when she saw them coming down the street, she exclaimed, "There comes my ma and sister, Nervy." The latter being the name Mary used to call Mrs. Alter when a young girl. When they came into the house, she hugged them and cried for joy. After this incident, Lunacy became progressively more homesick and continually begged to be taken home to the Roffs. So you can see that point made in Anguish, the movie, very, very, very much so. So you see that the mom and the other mom get together, and it's very, very, it's very intense. So it's just very intense. So being homesick, that's just, I mean, where was the other spirit? Where was Mary's spirit? Why didn't she move on? So, alright, so hoping it might help their daughter's recovery, the Venoms allowed their daughter to be taken into the Roth home. When asked how long she would remain there, Lunacy answered that the angels would let her stay until sometime in May. She had never been in the house before, but remarkably seemed to know everything about it. She also spoke almost daily of particular incidences in Mary Roth's life. She recognized family members and friends, identified her favorite clothes and belongings, and recounted past events known only to her family. So for 15 weeks, Lunacy Venom lived as Mary Roth. That's just amazing. Among her family and friends and everything, she did convince people that she was the real Mary Roth, so whom she had never known. When Mrs. Roth asked her if she recalled the family moving to Texas in 1857, this was when Mary was 11. The girl responded promptly that she remembered it well, particularly seeing the Indians along the Red River and playing with the young daughter of a family named Reeder, who were among the same traveling party. So the Roths also tested her with a velvet headdress Mary used to wear, which she recognized immediately. How amazing is that? Wow. So, the stay at Mr. Roth's was beneficial to her psychological condition, which did continue to improve, and her mental health, though she seemed to not recognize or know anything about her own family or their friends and neighbors. When Mr. and Mrs. Venom and their children visited, she treated them as strangers. Though, after frequent visit, she learned to love them as friends, so she was genuinely happy in her new home, and often went out with Mrs. Roth to visit the leading families of the city, who became soon convinced that the girl was not insane, but a normal, well-mannered child. I don't even know how to take this. I don't know how to take this in. I don't know how to understand this. I don't know how to comprehend it. The possession thing, I just don't know. I mean, personally, sure, that would be amazing. If that were, it would be amazing. I mean, literally amazing to do that, but I don't know. So, occasionally Mary would go back to heaven and leave the body in a state of trance. So, and after 8 or 9 weeks, the personality of Lunacy would occasionally return partially for a few minutes. So, and once seems to have taken full possession for a brief time. So in the movie, it would be Mary. Wait, Tess and the other girl. I don't remember the girl's name in the movie. That would be the other girls, them switching. So you can see what, happens in the movie if you guys have watched it. It's very good. Makes you think. It's crazy. So, alright, but Mary finally did leave the body of Tess. So, of Lunacy. So, and her illness, she was normal. She was perfect. She was fine. All her mental illness went away. Completely went away. Everything. So, alright, now, her past life. Lunacy's past life. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, so where were we? Alright, so I just can't imagine how that would happen. I mean, that would just be so different for this to just go on. And then there's also Lawrence's past life, which I don't fully understand this. We have Dr. Stevens, Mary's doctor. Dr. Stevens often asked Mary about her former life, and on one occasion, she told him about cutting her arm. And asked if he had seen where she did it. After receiving a negative answer, she started to pull up her sleeve to show him the scar, but suddenly stopped as if realized something suddenly, and quickly said, "Oh, this is not the arm. That one is the ground," and carried on to describe where it was buried and how she witnessed it done, and who was standing around at that time. So, Lawrence often spoke of seeing Dr. Stevens' daughter Emma, Angela Stevens, in heaven. This is where the priest comes in. You'll notice that if you watch the movie. So she told him that she was happy there. She physically described the girl who had died in March of 1849. And the details were accurate, even down to an X-shaped scar on the cheek resulting from surgery after an infection. So evidently this girl has done, the Lawrence girl, she literally did this for people to help them contact their loved ones, and so that they could move on and find, their closure. So very neat. Very neat. So, and the details were accurate, okay, so even down to the scar shape on her cheek. So she also correctly described Dr. Stevens' home in Janesville, Wisconsin, where she had never been, and gave the names and ages of his children. So, while all this was happening, Mary was asked where the real Lawrence venom was. She told them that Lawrence was away being treated, and would come back, and when she was, restored to health, both mentally and physically. And then, when Lawrence was ready to return, Mary must leave. Is very different. So the return of her, so this is where she came back to her body, and she became fully healthy again. So it was on May 7th of 1878. Mary told the Roth family that it would soon be time for her to leave, as Lawrence venom was getting better and would return. So it seems like that she had a lot of heavenly spirits, or very positive entities, literally almost like saints, helping her to get better, so she didn't have to go through all that trauma of her body and then come back and she was fully healthy. Alright, so then on May 21st, after 14 weeks, this fulfilling the prophecy which Mary had made when first taking control, she tearfully bade everyone goodbye, and she left. Lawrence was back for good, and she asked Mrs. Roth to take her home. When she arrived, she met her parents and brothers, hugging and kissing them in tears of happiness, and was completely content to be in her own surroundings again. She told her family that the past 15 weeks seemed like a dream to her. So back in her own house, Lawrence became, in the words of her mother, perfectly and entirely well and natural. Lawrence has been smarter, more intelligent, more industrious, more womanly, and more polite than ever. Wow. Wow, it's not a horror story. I mean, some of the horrific events, yeah, but wow. I mean, so her parents gave Dr. Stevens and Mrs. and Mr. Roth the credit for her complete cure, and believed that if Lawrence had remained at home, she would have died, or have been sent to the insane asylum. So her mother added, quote, "Several of the relatives of Lawrence, including ourselves, now believe she was cured by spirit power, and that Mary Roth controlled the girl." In July 1878, Dr. Stevens pronounced Lurency in sound health both mentally and physically. He received a pencil-written letter from her in which she thanked him for his patience and help. Apparently, the handwriting in this letter bore no resemblance at all to other writings of Lurency when she was Mary Roth. So that's very interesting. So in January of 1882, now an attractive young woman, Lurency Venom married George Binning, a New York-born farmer of English parentage from near Wautisca, wherever that is. So they moved to Rawlins County, Kansas in 1884, where she became the mother of 11 children. She was to have 13 altogether. Are they Catholic? Occasionally it is said that Mary would take control of her again, but as she was not in an encouraging environment for such things, she never developed her mediumistic skills any further. So, George Binning died in Long Beach, California on the 21st of November of 1916. So in the 30s, Lurency used to travel by train to visit her sisters Florence in Medicine Lodge, Kansas at least once and sometimes twice a year. So her great niece, Joyce Westbrooks, remembers a family visit to her and her daughter, Daisy, in Long Beach in 1938. But in 1940, she was a 76-year-old woman who preferred not to talk about those 15 weeks in the 1870s when she had mystified science. Lurency died in Los Angeles, California on August 30th of 1952. Joyce Westbrook's son, William Westbrook, a successful director and playwright, has written a play about Lurency entitled Before I Wake. So this was first performed in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, at Gettysburg College in May of 1981. So the initial performances were attended by many of the Lawrence's relatives. Alright, so now we have the Society for Physical Research. So Dr. Richard Hodgson, a skeptical member, investigated the case and visited Wautisca on April 12th of 1890. So questioning the main witnesses who remained in the neighborhood. He also attempted to get some direct statements from Lurency, Mrs. George Binning at that time, but received no answers to his inquiries. Dr. Stevens wrote a book called The Wautisca Wonder about the case based on his personal knowledge, and William James, American psychologist and brother of the novelist Henry James, also investigated and reported his findings in depth. So evidence is certainly not lacking in the case of Lurency Venom. It attracted wide attention at the time, and contemporarily newspapers in and around Chicago devoted a lot of space to it. But what really happened, I don't know. And I doubt these people know. So, were the Roth and Venom families involved in an elaborate hoax, or was Lurency somehow able to fool not only her own family and that of Mary Roth, but the investigators as well? On the other hand, if she was genuine, are the only possible explanations reincarnation or spiritual possession? So the families involved seem to think Lurency was indeed possessed by the spirit of Mary Roth. Richard Hodgson, who worked in Morton Prince in the Christine Beauchamp multiple personality case at the end of the 19th century, suggested that Mary Roth could be a secondary personality of Lurency Venoms. If so, we can discount reincarnation, spiritual possession, or any other paranormal explanation for the case. However, the problem still remains of how Lurency obsessed or obtained the detailed knowledge that she had said to have possessed. The same problem applies if the whole thing was an elaborate hoax. Where and how did she obtain that detailed information about the people, places, and events she knew about? If this mystery could be explained, then we actually could be much closer to understanding the case of alleged spiritual possession. So, very good movie. Very good movie. I definitely think you guys should check it out. I mean, it's pretty interesting. Very interesting. So, I don't know. I just can't picture or fathom being that type of a medium for people and helping people like that in that specific type of way. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could take on that mental responsibility, and I mean, that's really big, but just, I mean, that is so comforting. It is so comforting to know that at least that family got to see and, interact with their daughter again until Mary had left back Laurency, and she came back fully fine, health intact, all of it. So it's crazy. It really is crazy. So that's all I got for today, guys. So happy Witchy Wednesday. I'm rethinking possession. I'm really thinking it. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know. I don't know. So, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, remember to click the bell button on the bottom so you get notifications for all the upcoming videos. And yes, I love you all very, very, very much. And all the way from Venus, all the way back down. So, I hope you all have a great day. I hope you enjoy. Definitely watch Anguish. It is a great movie, and it really gets you to think. So, watch it, and let me know. Let me know what you guys think below about it. So, I love you all very much, and thank you guys for watching.